This is one of those things I swore I'd take to the grave. But the guilt's been eating me up, and maybe putting it into words will help me process what the hell happened. Or maybe I'm just hoping someone will tell me I'm not a complete piece of shit.
So yeah,
I got stuck in an elevator with my boss, a woman. And a few days later, I got promoted. But that's not even the crazy part. Let me rewind. I've been married for 7 years. My wife and I met in college. She was sweet, grounded, and the first person who made me feel stable. In the beginning, things were good. Really good. But life happens. She started her own business, got stressed all the time. I got buried in my corporate job, climbing the ladder without much recognition. Over the years, our conversations turned transactional. Did you pay the gas bill? Did you take the dog out?
sex?
Barely once a month.
Sometimes not even that.
I stopped trying because rejection stings more when it's from someone who used to crave you. I work in a mid-sized marketing firm, and I'm not gonna lie, I've always been the yes guy.
Yes to overtime.
Yes to picking up someone else's slack. My name rarely came up in meetings, but I kept things moving behind the scenes. People noticed. They just never said anything out loud. Until she came in. Her name? Let's just call her Alex. 30-something, sharp eyes, confident voice, heels that announced her presence before she even walked in. She didn't just enter a room, she took it. And she wasn't like the cliché hot boss from movies. She wasn't fake or flirty. She was direct. Smart as hell. But you could feel it. People were either intimidated by her or secretly obsessed with her. Maybe both. At first, we barely interacted. A passing nod in the hallway. A good job when I sent over a campaign plan she liked. That kind of thing. Then slowly she started calling me into meetings. Asking for my input. Telling other people in the room, listen to what he's saying. I won't pretend I didn't feel something. Not attraction, not yet. Just noticed. For the first time in a long while. The day it happened, I was already fried. It was one of those miserable Thursdays where every client wants something by Friday and half your team calls in sick. I stayed late, cleaning up a deck someone else had messed up. Around 9:30 p.m., I stepped into the elevator, ready to call it a night. She walked in behind me. I didn't even know she was still in the building. She looked tired but still put together. Her jacket was off, sleeves rolled up, makeup slightly faded. I nodded. She nodded back. No small talk. We were both too burnt out for that. The elevator jerked once and stopped. I laughed a little under my breath, thinking it was just a glitch. She pressed the emergency button. Nothing. Lights flickered. I tried my phone, no signal. She tried hers, same. We gave each other that awkward, well, this is fun look and sat down against opposite walls. Minutes passed. 10. Then 15. We talked about work at first. Deadlines, clients, the usual crap. Then silence. Long enough that it started to feel real. Like we were going to be stuck in there a while. She broke it. You always stay this late? She asked, stretching her legs out. Only when no one else does their job.
She smirked.
I've noticed. You cover a lot of ground for people who don't deserve it. That hit harder than I expected. I shrugged it off, but inside I felt warm. Like she saw me. I mean, really saw me. I made some joke about corporate loyalty being a slow death. She laughed. It wasn't forced. And then she asked if I had kids. I said no. She asked about my wife. I paused a second too long. She's busy, I said. We both are. She didn't pry, just nodded, then said, it's wild how easy it is to lose touch with someone you sleep beside every night. That sentence sat heavy in the air. Asked if she had anyone. She shook her head. No time, she said. Tried a couple relationships. People either want to fix me or compete with me. I'm tired of both. Silence again. Then she looked right at me and said, you ever wonder if this is it? Like you hit a certain age and just plateau? I told her, yeah, all the time. That cracked something open. We started talking like two strangers in the same sinking boat. Honest. Blunt. No sugarcoating. She told me how she worked her ass off to get where she was, only to be called cold or ruthless. I told her how invisible I felt at work, at home, even to myself some days. It got quiet again, but this time not awkward. Comfortable, even. Like there was nothing left to hide. Then something changed. She shifted closer. Not much, just a foot maybe. But in that tight space, it felt like an inch was a mile. Her knee brushed mine, and neither of us moved away. I looked up. Her eyes were on me. Not boss eyes. Not professional. Just human. Curious. I felt my heart jump. My mouth went dry. I told myself to look away, crack a joke, change the vibe. But I didn't. She leaned in just a little, and in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "You're not invisible to me." That line.
God.
It hit like a gut punch. I didn't know what I was doing. My head said stop. My chest said don't. But my body? It leaned forward too. Our faces were inches apart when the elevator jolted. Lights flickered back on. Air kicked in. The hum of the machine came alive again. The moment shattered. We jumped apart, breathing hard, not meeting each other's eyes. The elevator doors opened to an empty hallway. She stood up first, smoothing her hair back like nothing happened. "Glad that's over," she said, almost too casually. I nodded, mumbled something stupid like, "Yeah, close call." We walked out without saying anything else. I headed to the parking garage, hands shaking, brain fried. I kept replaying that moment, her voice, her eyes, the closeness, the almost. When I got home, my wife was already asleep on the couch, a half-empty glass of wine on the table. I stared at her for a long time. She looked peaceful. And a million miles away. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I did something, but because I knew I almost had. And I wasn't sure which part scared me more. The day after the elevator incident, I tried to pretend everything was normal. But nothing felt normal. I couldn't focus. I'd open a spreadsheet and stare at it for 10 minutes without doing a thing. Every time I saw her name pop up in my inbox, my heart did this stupid little skip like I was 16 again. I hated it. Hated how much I was craving something I didn't understand. We didn't talk about what happened. Didn't reference it. Not even in passing. She walked into meetings like usual, confident, unreadable. I convinced myself maybe I imagined the whole thing. Maybe it was just adrenaline, a weird moment amplified by stress. But then the way she looked at me changed. Not obvious. Just subtle enough to question if it was happening at all. Her eyes would linger for half a second longer during presentations. She started asking for one-on-ones more frequently. At first, it was always about work, deadlines, creative direction, team issues. But the longer we talked, the more those lines blurred. She started making jokes only I would get, remembering details I mentioned once in passing, asking if I was eating enough, if I ever took breaks. Once she showed up at my desk with a protein bar and said, "You look like you forgot to exist today." That line stuck with me for hours. At home, everything was muted. My wife and I were in the same space, but not really together. She asked how work was, and I gave her half answers. She didn't press. I didn't volunteer. We were like two people acting out a marriage for an audience that never showed up. A week passed, and the elevator incident started to feel like a dream. Until another late night at the office. Everyone else was gone. I was finishing up revisions on a campaign we were pitching the next day. Around 9 o'clock, I heard her voice behind me. "You're the only one who actually works past 5. I turned around, startled. She had 2 coffees in hand. She offered me one. "I didn't order that," I said. She smiled. "Didn't ask." We sat down across from each other at the small table near the break area. The place was dead quiet. You could hear the AC buzzing. She asked how things were going. I said fine. She said I was lying. Then she leaned forward slightly, elbows on the table. "You've been weird since the elevator." I froze. My stomach tightened. I wanted to deny it, deflect it, make a joke. But I couldn't. "So have you," I said quietly. She didn't deny it either. There was a long pause. Then she said, "I've thought about it. More than I should have." I didn't know what to say. My fingers were curled tightly around the paper coffee cup. She noticed. You're allowed to want something, she said, even if it scares you. I shook my head. It's not that simple. It never is, she said. But that doesn't mean it's not real. That line. Again, it hit deeper than it should have. Because it was real. That tension, that pull, I hadn't felt it in years. Not at home. Not with anyone. She stood up and said, "Walk me to my car?" I shouldn't have. I knew better. But I followed her anyway. In the elevator, we didn't speak. We stood side by side, not touching, but the air between us felt charged. It was like every second stretched out. We stepped into the garage. Her car was parked in the far corner. We kept walking in silence. Then she stopped. "I don't want to play games," she said. "I know this is messy. But I also know I haven't stopped thinking about you since that night." I looked at her. She wasn't being seductive. She wasn't trying to trap me. She was just being honest. "I can't," I said. "I'm married." She nodded. "I know." Another pause. "I'm not asking for forever," she said. "I'm just asking if right now you want this." I should have walked away. I should have said no. But I didn't. I stepped forward. She didn't move. Our eyes locked. And then, slowly, our lips met. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't frantic. It was quiet, deliberate, like two people making a decision they couldn't take back. When we pulled apart, neither of us spoke. She opened her car door. I turned and walked away, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. That night, I sat in my car outside my house for 30 minutes before going inside. My wife was asleep. I climbed into bed, fully clothed, and stared at the ceiling until morning. The next day at work, everything continued like nothing happened. No texts. No glances. Business as usual. Until I got called into her office at 4 o'clock. She closed the door behind me, told me to sit. "Lock it," she said. I did. She walked around the desk and leaned against it, arms crossed. "I'm not good at slow burns," she said. "You don't have to be here. But if you stay, I'm not pretending anymore." I sat there, frozen. "I know what this makes me," I said finally. "No," she replied. "You know what this makes you feel. And that's the part that's scaring you." She stepped closer. Her hand grazed mine. I didn't stop her. We kissed again. Deeper this time. Hungrier. We didn't have sex right then. But it felt inevitable. Like a dam cracking slowly. For the rest of the week, we kept our distance in public. But the private glances got bolder. The text messages started. Late nights became more common. She'd brush my arm in passing. I'd linger in her office after meetings. The second time it happened, it was in her car, in the back of the parking structure. It was quick, messy, intense. And afterward, neither of us said a word for 10 minutes. We just sat there, breathing hard, eyes closed. Back at home, I was a ghost. I couldn't connect. I couldn't lie well enough. My wife asked if I was stressed. I said yes. She believed me. I hated myself. Every time I touched my wife, I felt like a fraud. Every kiss felt like a betrayal. And yet, every time my boss texted me, my chest lit up. I told myself it was a phase. Just chemistry. Just escapism. But it wasn't. It felt more real than anything I'd felt in years. And I was already too deep in to pull myself out. I thought guilt would stop me. I thought it would hit like a freight train after the second time, maybe the third. But it didn't. It came in waves, short, sharp stabs that faded fast the moment she touched me again. The guilt didn't stop me. It just made me hide better. We started timing things. 5 minutes apart when leaving the office. Coordinating who exited which stairwell. She stopped texting me anything risky. Everything was through quick glances, locked doors, late meetings that weren't real. It was unspoken, but we both knew the rules. Keep it hidden, keep it moving. It wasn't just sex. That's the part that surprised me. We talked. A lot. She told me things no one else knew, like how she hated birthdays, or how her dad used to tell her she'd never be loved if she acted too smart. I told her about my first panic attack. About how I never wanted to get married, but did it anyway because it seemed like the right time. We became something in between lovers and co-conspirators. At home, I became robotic. Wake up.
Shower. Coffee. Work.
Fake small talk. Sleep beside someone who had no idea I was living a second life. My wife started asking questions, subtle ones at first. Was work getting worse? Why was I always tired?
Distant?
I blamed stress. I played the part. Brought her flowers one night out of nowhere. She smiled like she wanted to believe the gesture was sincere, but her eyes didn't. Then came the night I was supposed to take her to dinner. Our anniversary. I forgot. Fully. Was sitting in my boss's office, shirt unbuttoned, her lipstick still on my collar, when my phone blew up with calls. 32 minutes late by the time I answered. My wife was crying. I told her I got held up. She hung up. I raced home. Offered some garbage excuse about an emergency strategy call. She didn't even fight. She just looked at me and said, "I don't recognize you anymore." The worst part? I didn't recognize myself either. The next day, I tried to cut things off. I went to my boss's office, shut the door, and said we needed to stop. She nodded, said she understood. Then she kissed me before I left. And I let her. The truth is, I didn't want to stop. I just wanted to feel like I tried. She told me she'd never chase me. That if I walked, she wouldn't text again. That there wouldn't be drama or breakdowns. Just silence. I believed her. That scared me more than anything. At some point, it stopped being about right or wrong. It became a habit. I craved her voice, her attention, the way she said my name like it was worth saying. At work, I started performing better. Faster ideas. Sharper execution. My confidence shot through the roof. And she noticed. She made sure everyone noticed. She'd say things in meetings like, "This pitch wouldn't exist without him," and "You should all take notes on how he handles pressure." My name started showing up in rooms I was never invited to before. Senior partners started calling me directly. Then one night, after a team presentation, she pulled me into the hallway and said, "Be ready. You're about to get bumped up." I thought she meant symbolically. Encouragement. Validation. She meant literally. 2 days later, HR called me in. Said they were creating a new project lead role, and it had my name on it. Said the executive team unanimously agreed. A 30% pay bump. Private office. More control. I should have felt proud. I should have told my wife. I didn't. Instead, I sat alone in my car again. Same parking spot. Same tight chest. It didn't feel earned. It felt dirty. Not because I wasn't qualified, but because I knew where the spark started. I knew how many locked doors got me here. My wife did notice the money, though. She asked about the raise when she saw the account. I told her it was a long overdue recognition.
She hugged me.
Told me she was proud of me. I couldn't meet her eyes. We had sex that night. The first time in almost 2 months. It was slow. Awkward. Her hands felt foreign. Her body familiar but unreachable. Halfway through, she looked up and asked, "Are you with me right now?" I said yes. But I wasn't. The next morning, she was crying in the shower. I stood outside the door listening, doing nothing. No words came. I felt like a guest in my own life. The affair didn't stop. It evolved. Got smarter. We found ways to make it feel new again. Secret hotels. Calendar invites disguised as work briefings. One time, she booked a meeting room under the name of a fake client, and we spent 40 minutes pressed against the whiteboard with the door locked. We were reckless in all the quiet ways. Then one night, my wife came home early from a friend's birthday dinner. I was still in my button-down, hadn't even cleared the scent off my skin. She walked into the kitchen and stood still. Her eyes dropped to the collar of my shirt. Her voice didn't even raise when she asked, "Who is she?" I froze. Tried to lie.
Failed.
She didn't scream.
Didn't cry.
Just sat down and said, "I've known for weeks. I just wanted to see if you'd ever come clean." I sat across from her, hands shaking. All I could say was, "I'm sorry." She asked how long. I told her. She asked if I loved her. I said I didn't know. That answer broke her. She walked out without taking her keys. Slept at her sister's. The next morning, I woke up to a text, "I'll come by for my things." I didn't stop her. I didn't fight. I just sat there while she packed, saying nothing, because anything I said would have made it worse. That night, my phone buzzed. It was my boss. "Are you okay?" she asked. I said no. She offered to come over. I told her not to. For the first time, I meant it. But the damage was done. The silence after my wife left was different from the usual kind. It wasn't peace. It was absence. I didn't realize how much noise a shared life made until it stopped. No clinking mugs in the morning, no soft hum of her shower running, no random texts about groceries or dinner plans. Just silence.
And me.
I didn't hear from her for 3 days. No calls. No texts. Her side of the closet was empty, drawers half open. She even took the mugs we got on our honeymoon. I kept thinking she'd come back, that maybe this was just shock. But deep down I knew. I'd crossed a line that didn't have a return path. Work kept moving. I showed up.
Did the job.
Got congratulated on my promotion. Shook hands, smiled at emails, signed things I barely read. My boss kept her distance at first. She must have known something had shifted. She didn't text after hours. No late-night invites. Just professional exchanges and surface-level smiles. Then came the follow-up meeting with HR, formal title change. Leadership welcome. Orientation packet. And a letter with my new pay scale. On paper, everything looked perfect. But nothing felt that way. I started noticing how others looked at me. I don't know if they knew. Maybe it was paranoia. But their smiles felt tighter. Conversations paused when I walked into the room. One guy from analytics joked in the elevator, "Must be nice to be in the boss's good books." He laughed. I didn't. I started dreading going into her office. Everything we had built there now felt tainted. I'd walk in for a briefing and catch flashes of what we'd done in that same chair, same desk. It wasn't desire anymore. It was a weight. She asked if I was okay. I said yes. She said I didn't look okay. One afternoon, she closed her laptop and said, "We need to talk." I nodded, sat down. She said she wanted to be clear, whatever we had, it couldn't continue like this. She said she cared about me, respected me, but she wasn't interested in being the reason my life fell apart. I said, "Too late." She looked at me differently after that. Not with coldness, but with distance. Like she knew I was unraveling and didn't want to be part of the cleanup. I asked if she regretted it. She said she regretted not stopping it sooner. Then she added, "You were never just a fling. But I don't think either of us can afford to keep pretending this doesn't hurt." We didn't touch again after that. But the damage was still rippling. My wife served me papers 2 weeks later. No dramatic conversation. Just a file folder on my doorstep with her name and a signature line. I didn't fight it. I didn't ask for time. I signed it. We didn't speak at the hearing. She didn't look at me. I moved into a smaller apartment across town. Packed my life into 8 boxes and a garbage bag. Started eating takeout every night. Stopped responding to texts from friends who asked where I'd gone. The irony was I'd gotten everything I thought I wanted. A raise. A title. A new version of myself. And I had never felt emptier. The affair didn't cost me my job. It didn't blow up in public. There was no scandal. No HR report. No fallout. But it did cost me my home. My marriage. My ability to look in the mirror without flinching. She kept things professional from that point forward. We still worked together. Still exchanged ideas. But the warmth was gone. The small smiles. The late texts. All of it. Sometimes I caught her looking at me, like she wanted to say something. But she never did. Neither did I. I started going to therapy. The counselor asked when I stopped feeling connected in my marriage. I told her I wasn't sure I ever really felt it. That scared me more than anything. Not the affair. Not the fallout. But realizing how much of my life had been autopilot. She asked if I was in love with my boss. I said I didn't know. Maybe I just loved how she made me feel. Maybe I mistook attention for affection. Maybe I was just lonely and weak and tired of feeling invisible. She nodded and said, "People break in quiet ways." I kept going every week. I tried dating again. Briefly. Nothing stuck. Every person felt like a comparison. Either too open or too guarded. Too safe or too dangerous. And I wasn't in the right place to start over. Not yet. The irony? I started doing better at work. The distraction was gone. I threw myself into new projects. Picked up slack. Mentored newer hires.
People stopped side-eyeing me.
Started trusting me. I became the guy people came to for real advice, not just approvals. She noticed. One day she told me, "You've changed. In a good way." I said, "So have you." That was it. Somewhere along the line, the memory of what we had faded into background noise. Not gone. Just quiet. Not something I wanted to recreate. Just something I'd never forget. I still think about my wife. Not with longing. More like mourning. Like someone remembering a place they used to live in before the storm hit. I wonder if she's happier now. If she found someone who listens better. Someone who didn't need to destroy everything to feel alive.
I don't reach out.
I wouldn't know what to say even if I did. People always expect these stories to end in one of two ways. A happy ever after or total collapse. Mine was somewhere in between. I didn't lose everything. But I didn't walk away whole either. What I learned was simple. Infidelity isn't just about sex. It's about silence. It's about the parts of yourself you hide because you're too scared to say what you need. It's about feeling seen by the wrong person and realizing you were invisible for so long that any attention feels like love. I don't blame her anymore. Or my wife. Or even myself, really. I just understand now that some lessons come with a cost. And not all scars show up on skin. It's been months now. I'm still in the same job. Still doing the work. Still answering emails, leading meetings, climbing the ladder. But I do it differently. Slower. More grounded. Sometimes when I pass her in the hallway, we nod at each other. Two people who shared something intense, complicated, and ultimately unsustainable. There's no bitterness. Just quiet recognition. That chapter ended. Not with fire. Not with closure. Just with the understanding that not everything that feels good is meant to last. And not everything you lose is a tragedy. Sometimes, it's the start of something you didn't even know you needed. Even if it begins with letting go.